We know it.
Okay. Physics major, physics major. Are you ready?
I'm actually fine.
Beautiful afternoon. By the way, you should check out that sugar maple there on the way home. It's pretty fantastic. Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Alice Lee, who is going to talk to us about impossible objects with mirrors.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. My topic is impossible objects with mirror. Here is the outline of my talk. I will first give some example, and I will talk about definition because you may be curious whether impossible objects exist. So in order to know whether it exists or not, we should give a definition or some sort of way to define what kind of objects that I would like to talk about. And then we will have a discussion on how to make them. Then there is sometimes for advertisement, and at the end, I will have promised to give you a gift, and you can also see our exhibition. So let's start with examples. There are different types of impossible objects. The first one, partially invisible objects. You have a ray, and in the mirror, half of it is glass. Well, you can also reverse. If you only get half of it, then in the mirror, another half will come out. There are some variations of these partial invisible objects. You can make other shapes that you like, hexagon, build a few of them, and even some kind of stuff disappear. How can we make this? Are they? Okay, let's see another type. Logical dispersing objects. Now, the object itself, two cylinders, not intersecting, and now in the mirror, hey, they intersect. Variations. Three circles, line for the straight line, and now it gets to a pattern like this, and I can even make the code into a parallel outside the circle. This is another one. It seems that I move these three triangle, so these three square, and line up there. Let's go to the next time. Reverse objects. This is the one that I use in the announcement of my abstract. If I get an arrow pointing to the right or other diagrams pointing to the right, how come in the mirror? Well, it just go in a reverse direction. Right? Visible fused objects. Now these objects, without mirror, they only get half of them. But if you put on a mirror, you will see another half. You would hope that another half, bottom half, the same as the top half, but they are not the same, and it just makes you the full picture after you put them on a mirror. Wow. Now, let's see another type. Perhaps reversal objects. When we have a cone on the top, and now in the mirror it's at the bottom. This one is at the bottom, but in the mirror it is on the top. Same for another one. It seems the positions of the cone change. Another ambiguous prisms. Spiral, changing butterfly. Stars, bolt, triangle becomes stars, circles becomes triangles. Okay, now, these are all the, well, not all the examples. I have showed you quite a lot of examples, and I saw from you, it sounds like there is some trick. Now, I have to declare that all the mirrors in this talk are just painted mirrors. They are very simple, no trick on the mirror. The trick is on the object. You can call it impossible objects. Actually, it just comes from the optical illusions. So of course, we have to know what the mirror does. The paint mirrors will give us another view of an object. So say if I have an object here and I put a mirror, then my eyes will see the front of the object. And from the mirror, I will have a reflection, and that will tell us how the back of the mirror looks like. So say this mirror tells us the back of the vase. When we find that what we think the object looks like different from what it appears in the mirror, it means that we have the objects have two different appearance when we have two different viewpoints, the direct view and the mirror view. And that's why I would at least clarify what kind of objects I would like to talk in this talk. I would like to talk about the objects that have two different appearance when we see from two specific viewpoints. Now, I should emphasize this is specific. It won't work for all angles. It only works for two specific angles. There is another trick that I have used. So far, all the photos that I showed you are 2D because they are on the screen and they are of specific viewpoints. So if we have a 3D object, well, all the photos that I showed you, not all, most of the photos that I showed you are 3D. And when we have a 3D photos or 3D image, 3D objects, when we project to a 2D image, actually we lose something. We should notice that, say, if I get a plane curve A, this curve A is on a plane, then there are different space curves that can project to the same plane curve A when we fix our viewpoint. So it means that when something appears to be A, it may be the curve C1, the curve C2, the curve C3, or even part of the curve C2 and part of the curve C3. Or it may be C1 and C2 when you view from this point. Same for any figure. Different figure when they project to your eyes, they may be the same. Okay, now how do we distinguish a curve C1 from C2 from our eyes? Is about the depth perception. In order to receive depth and distance from a 2D image, we use different clues to make a guess. Now, for example, when you look at this, you think, maybe they are just pink circles. But when you look at this circle on the right-hand side, they are spheres. You feel that it has a shape. That is your guess or guess. We may also use some environment clue, like all these kind of like parallel lines to tell, oh, that is at the far end. If we are in a three-dimension, if we can see a three-dimension object, we use our two eyes. Our two eyes will see the object at a slightly different angles. So our brains will process it, and then from that, we will understand how the depth is. So at the end, in the exhibition, if you find that, how come it doesn't look like what I wish to look like, you may try to close one of your eyes. Then that will you will lose the ability to tell how deep the image is, and that will help you to get the evolution that you want. The evolution that you want. Okay, now, okay, so all these are some background, and let me go back to different types of objects and explain how we can get that. We start from the easiest one. The easiest one is height reversals objects. Actually, these are just horizontally paced pictures. So if it is just like in pictures, then anything closer to the mirror will appear at the bottom, and then anything at the end will appear. So if these are just pictures, then when the objects get reversed the mirror, then you will find that the height seems to get reversed. When we choose these objects or these pictures, we will try to find some 2D pictures that have interpretations of a 3D object that will make you feel that this is not a plane but something else. Then it just gives you impressions that the cone is on the top, but actually the cone is just on a piece of paper. Using this idea, there are different variations again. So like this wood, actually it's just a also a 2D one, just a plain horizontal one. In the exhibition there is a staircase. It looks like that it comes down here, go upstairs, and actually it's also horizontal. Now let's move to another one, partially invisible objects. We will use the property that when you look at a viewpoint, something may get hidden from an object. So for example, I get a ring. The upper part, when you see from the direction V1, the upper part S would be the same as another curve that is around here. So we can replace something horizontally by replace the upper part by the horizontal one to make you feel that it form a whole ring. That should be the red one here. The upper bit is horizontal. For the green one is also similar. The lower bit is horizontal. This one is horizontal. So and in the mirror image, part of it just get hidden. The next one, ambiguous prisms. Now, in our daily life, most of the time when we see a prisms, the top or the base of all these prisms are planar, means on a 2D surface, and then also they are perpendicular to the actual faces. But these ambiguous prisms are not. That's why they look so different from all others. Now, if I need to make one like this, some prisms that look like a circle, with a circle top and a square top, I have to think in this way. So in one direction, I give a circle, another direction of view, I need a square. And now I wish to have a prism. The top, I know it won't be a plane curve, and it has to, feel it. And when you feel it, you see it from two different. I may give you a example. This is a curve that in one direction it looks like a circle, and other directions, it looks like a square. Let's see whether we can find that. Okay, this point of view is a square. So directions, and then we turn 180 degrees. Now it's a square. Sorry, it's a circle. If you look at it in other directions, not a square, not a circle, it's just a curve. Okay, well then you may wonder, hey, how can we construct this curve? How can we construct this curve? How can we construct a curve that it looks like a circle in one direction and a square in another direction? Now, let's try a easier example. So, I'm trying to construct a prism in one direction that look like a triangle, and another direction it look like a square. I have give the vertices some labels, and obviously I do some trick because I added extra kind of vertex in my triangle. In my mind, I would like to match these two figures, so like this, so that my AB will correspond to A prime B prime, BC correspond to C prime C prime, so on and so forth. So I need some way to merge these two images. To do so, I will put this in a three-dimensional coordinate system, and then we build a prisms for my triangles and square. And now when we look at the prisms built from the point A, it will intersect another prism building from A prime. That intersection, I call it A double prime. And so on and so forth. I will get 4 different intersections. From these 4 intersections, I get the figure that I need. So now let me give you a okay, so it looks like this. So I'll change the rotations, the view, point of view a little bit. You can see how it looks like. So essentially, if I wish to get ambiguous prisms, I'm intersecting 2 prisms. We can also get a closer look of the intersection. The intersections come from, it's not a plane curve. We can have a top view of that. The top view, sorry, let me solve it. Okay, in the top view, you can have an idea. Originally, we get the triangles and square, and then in the intersections, this is the shape that I want. But this is the top view, and the side view look like this. Side view of the intersection. Okay. Now, let's go. Now, I hope it kind of convince you that if I have 2 figures, I somehow can make you make an object that have 2 different shapes. Of course, you may have other questions like what 2 figures that I can use. Obviously, you need some correspondence between your 2 figures, like I can arrange which line correspond to which line, and so on and so forth. But we don't go into details about it. Let's move to another type of objects, the topological one. Once you are convinced that, let's see how it should look. It look like another angle. They are actually something separate. There is also one example in exhibition. Once you are convinced that a circle can look like a square, a triangle can also look like a square, then this will not be hard to make because we need the direct field to have two disjoint circle, the view from the mirror and the setting. Then now I just decompose this view in mirror into two separate shapes, moon. And if we know how to turn a circle into a square, then we can turn a circle into a moon. Two circles become two moons. And then we do something about the height. Just work a little bit on the height of these two prisms to make you feel that they are joining to each other. Then you will fake that they are intersecting. Okay, let's walk to another one. Okay, reflexive object. Now you may think this one is harder than before, but actually if you are confused about my argument about circles and square, this one is not that difficult. It won't surprise you that at the top view or the side view will not tell you that it is an arrows at all. I have printed two arrows in the exhibition there. You can have a look. We can see what the map or how we can make it. So you first get the shapes, and now I would call the upper piece A1 and the lower piece A2, and then we just see how can we express it. Just coordinatize it, give an equation of that, and then this is the equation to make a space curve that will have two viewpoints. That will have two different shapes into the when you fill in different angle. So actually when you look at it, it's not that complicated because we know that when we wish to change from a arrow pointing to the right to the left, it means that we do reflections along the y-axis. So we change from x to minus x. Here usually we need to involve the view of the angle, so the theta will involve, and then the rest is just like taking the midpoint. I also get a animation for that. That is a MATLAB demo. Basically, once you figure out the program, then you can just input different curve, and then we can generate this one is the original shapes. This one is my three-dimensional curve that in this point view is the arrows. But when you look at it in another direction, it's not like that. Now, let me go to the original position, and I will turn 180 degrees. It's supposed to turn left, but when we turn it like that, okay, this is 180 degrees, it's still turning right. In order to print it, normally we will give it a height, so we will have two of these curves, and then the vertices use the triangle. Use just because when we print it, we used to get some surface. Actually, when we look at the objects, we only care about the edges. The middle part doesn't matter, but there are different ways to get the surface. So here we have two ways, and I use it to make several objects like this, also in the exhibition. Okay, let me go back to. So all other types are more or less the same. This one I also get a few example in the exhibition. When they put it on the top of a mirror, it look different. So this one is the one that I have showed you before. That when you get only one half, when you have no mirror, you only get the top half. You get a mirror, you get another half. And it's not surprising that The arms, it has to come out, it's not something that. Now, let's see the time. Okay, good. Okay, advertisement time. Advertisement, is for everybody in this room, no matter you're undergraduate or graduate student, you have an opportunity. I'm running a creative inquiry course, and I will teach topic in geometry next semester. If you are undergraduate students, you are welcome to take the course with me. It doesn't have to be invisible object. There are many other possible topics. There are two other mentors. They will be with us. We have a expert from art to help us to work on this creative inquiry project. As long as it's about art or something that visible, you may please discuss with me. If you are a graduate student, you can also consider to be a commenter of the creative inquiry. Just work with us and you help us to comment the student. There was a graduate student did that. She need this as an experience with the she somehow needs some training to work with undergraduate student and she worked with us. That is also a good experience for her. If you don't like or wish to think about, if you don't wish to take the creative inquiry, you may still consider my topic in geometry class. There is the undergraduate one and the graduate one. The graduate one is just sit in the same classroom as the undergraduate one, but the graduate will have more assignments and more difficult exams. Okay. Andres is my student in the creative inquiry last academic year. He worked on curve and fractals on a complex plane. He already graduated and he has some things to tell you. So let's check. Okay,
Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Mallett. I graduated May 2024. I did this project my senior year, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my experience and why you should look into it too. So at the end of my junior year, I saw a poster for the creative inquiry in the art of math, and I attended a math club talk about the creative inquiry. And being a double major in math and art, I thought it was something that really would be a good experience for me. And so I met with Alice and we talked a little bit about the different directions that we could go down, because there's just so many different concepts that you could explore in math and in art. And so over that summer between my junior and senior year, I just spent it brainstorming what I was interested in. And I came back in the fall with the idea to do something with fractals and with that sort of like infinite repetition. And I didn't know exactly what I would be doing, but I knew that was just a starting point. And so Alice found a textbook of a research project that had been done elsewhere. And so I started to study it and I started to research it. And so for those first few weeks of the fall semester, we would just have weekly check-ins where I would talk about what I had learned through that research. And it wasn't just the textbook, there were other sources as well. But essentially I was on my own to figure out the process and the math behind these artistic concepts that I was interested in. And so then at a certain point, when I was confident in that base knowledge of these fractals, inspiration struck, and I decided we decided to stem away from the research and kind of go more into that exploration phase. And so during that exploration phase, we jumped into MATLAB. I had no experience with MATLAB before, but learning MATLAB with these ideas kind of helped them build on top of each other. And it was a really unique experience that I wouldn't have got in a normal class compared to like a research class, because I was independent. And so I had to rely on myself to like find ways to get this done. If I had a math idea, I had to know how to do it in MATLAB. If I had a MATLAB problem, I would have to figure it out to like achieve this artistic concept. And so it really pushed me forward. And throughout it, there were struggles, but it was good to have Alice and Cynthia and my mentors there because they would always give me that support to push through these slumps in the research, and they would give me help when I needed it in like the coding issues or the math issues. And so while it was like an independent research, I had as much support as I needed, and this way of learning was really unique compared to a different class. And I feel like I learned so much more thanks to Alice and thanks to Cynthia because they were always there to support me like individually because I was the only one in that research. And so after exploring these concepts in MATLAB for a while, I decided to brainstorm how to turn these more mathematical designs into more of like a finished art piece that I was able to present as an art piece. And so then what we did was we found the Bridges Conference, which is exactly about this creative inquiry. It's the Bridges Math and Art Organization. They host a conference every year where people come from all over and talk about their research in the math and art world. And so we wanted to get a piece accepted to this conference so that we could attend. So at this point, I was creating these graphical flowers in MATLAB. And so this is entirely generated through the graphing features in MATLAB. And so I was making these with no knowledge of MATLAB. Just a month before I learned how to do this thing with the help of Alice and the help of Cynthia and my graduate mentors. And the next step was to figure out how to turn this into something physical or something that would be accepted into this art exhibition. And so over that winter break, I kind of did some more brainstorming about how we could turn these 2D designs into something else. And what I came up with was two different ideas. One was a 3D sculpture and the other was an animation. And we kind of did both. And so here you can see the sculpture we came up with. And the idea stems from the fact that the flower spiral is almost, it has this relation to this three-dimensional sphere where it's reflected onto it. And so I wanted to show that through sculpture. And then additionally, since these are spirals, each of the petals goes infinitely, it infinitely repeats at smaller scales. And so I wanted to make an animation to show that. And so here's a little taste of the animation where each of these petals kind of loops infinitely down. And this was also made entirely in MATLAB. So I needed to learn how to do that in a coding software that I was only recently starting to learn. And so it really just, this project helped me explore so many different areas that I never would have got to otherwise in a way that was really helpful to me because it kind of like, I just kind of jumped into the deep end, you know, and needed to learn this in order to achieve like the artistic concepts that I wanted to do. So we were very glad to be accepted to the British conference, and I was lucky enough to be able to attend that. Thanks to the math department, thanks to the creative inquiry department and the art department, they helped me get there. So this last summer in August, I went to Richmond, Virginia, where they were hosting the conference at VCU. And this was a very cool experience because there was just so many cool people, so many cool projects being shared, and it's all interested in like the art of math. And there's this whole world out there that I never would have expected to exist. And so being able to see that in person and talk to people from Australia, people from the UK, people from France, everywhere, all over the US too, they're doing this research into the math of art. And I felt like part of that here, being able to present my work too. And so just a year before, I never would have expected to have an art piece in this, that like international exhibition, but thanks to this experience, I was, and I was very proud of that. And Alice, I can't thank her enough for helping me get there, and Cynthia, and the whole creative inquiry and math departments and art department. And so I really can't recommend this experience enough. If you have any interest in this artistic math or just art in general, math in general, I think you should just look into it, look into some ideas from the British conference, because there's so many different areas you can go down. You can see the sculptures, paintings, digital, music even. So whatever you're interested in, I'm sure there's something you can find that you want to explore. And I really just recommend seeing what you can do. So thank you for your time, and I hope you talk to Alice. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my experience, and thank you.
The conference that he attended is called Beaches. It is the annual conference that connects math and music, art, cultures, and cultures. There is another international conference that is similar, and actually you should have heard of that because last week we just mentioned Martin Gardner. They have a conference every 2 years called Gathering for Gardener. We just do something fun, and at that side near the door, those stuff from the conference Gathering from Gardener. They are not related to the visible, impossible object of mirror, but they are something that I get from the conference. If you are interested in any bit of that, you can also talk with me and we can see whether we can like do creative inquiry or whatever with that. Okay. If you're waiting for that, my first gift is the hollow space illusion. It also comes from the gatherings for Gardener, and this illusions actually. Well, we didn't move this dragon, but when you move, the dragon head will move. Now I get you a template, you can make it by yourself and then you test it. It worked pretty well. Just close one of your eyes and you will find that the head will move when you move. Now that is called a hollow face one. Because it's all actually concave inverse. You can see a model, I put one there as well. Everyone can get a gift at the end, and there is a second gift. The second gift is the triangle, square, and possible prisms that I've mentioned. We just use the GeoGebra to construct this shape. If you still remember, this is the top view of the invisible objects, and if you cut this piece and put it on top of that, you were able to find a prisms that have two view. One is triangle, another one is a square. It will be at the end, at the door as well. You can take them. Here are some references. Thank you.
Any questions? Well, let's thank her again. I don't know about you guys, but I want to check out the gallery, so. Right.
Yeah,
Wait, that's the picture of the first. And it's like, the eyes are still going in.